Before we dive in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends and family. Also, let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is for you. Thanks. I never used to believe the stories people told about night shifts. The ones about empty parking lots, silent drive-thrus, and voices that weren't supposed to be there. That changed the year I turned 27. I was working at the McDonald's, off Green River Road, the one near the overpass where truckers stop late at night for coffee and burgers before heading south. It wasn't a bad job. It paid just enough to keep my rent current and my car from getting repossessed. I'd been there for 3 years. The night shift had its moments. Drunks at 2 a.m., college kids trying to order 100 nuggets, homeless folks looking for coffee refills. But most nights were just quiet. Too quiet. I usually worked with Rosa, our shift manager, mid-40s. Tough as nails, but funny when she wanted to be. And Jerome, who handled the fryer like it was an art form. The three of us had a rhythm. Jerome ran the kitchen, Rosa counted the till, and I manned the drive-thru. That night, October 17th, 2022, started like any other. Rain tapped on the glass. The air smelled faintly of grease and cleaner. It was just after midnight when I clocked in. "Yo, Nate," Jerome said as I slipped my headset on. "You bring coffee?" "2 shots espresso, 1 sugar," I said, sliding him a cup. He grinned. "Man, that's love." Rosa emerged from the office, hair tied back tight, phone in hand. "All right, people. Keep it smooth. I got corporate." Breathing down my neck about last week's numbers. "Don't they always?" I said. She shot me that don't start look, then cracked a small grin. "Just don't burn anything tonight." Till 2 a.m. The parking lot was empty except for a white pickup idling under the far light. A few minutes passed before the headset crackled. I straightened automatically. "Welcome to McDonald's. Go ahead with your order." Static. I tapped the headset. "Hello? McDonald's Green River. Can I take your order?" More static. Then faint low, almost beneath the noise, and a whisper. "Hungry." My throat tightened. It was so soft I thought maybe I'd imagined it. The mic sometimes picked up interference from truck radios. I pressed the button again. "Sorry. Could you repeat that?" Silence. Rosa's voice came through the intercom behind me. "Everything good, Nate?" "Yeah," I said, forcing a laugh. "Probably just some prank." "People get weird when it rains," she muttered, heading toward the fryers. A moment later, the sensor dinged. Someone had pulled up to the first window. 05 a.m. The car was a dark gray Crown Victoria, the kind cops used to drive. The paint was dull, almost matte. Both headlights flickered like dying candles. The driver's window was rolled halfway down, but the interior was pitch black. I couldn't even see the dashboard lights. "Hey there," I said, leaning slightly out. "You had an order?" "Nothing." "Sir, you said you were hungry earlier, right?" Then a hand came out of the darkness, pale, thin, trembling slightly. It dropped exact change, 647 so into my palm. I flinched. The skin felt cold, damp. Before I could say anything, the window rolled up halfway, and the car slowly crept forward to the next window. I stood there staring at the coins in my hand. They were sticky. "Yo, Rosa?" I called out. She popped her head around the corner. "What?" "We got a weird one. Didn't order anything, just handed me money." She frowned. "Then make something cheap. Don't start drama." I hesitated. "They said they were hungry." "Yeah, well, it's a restaurant, Nate," she snapped. "Feed 'em." I made a quarter-pounder, fries, and a Coke, bagged it, and walked to the second window. The Crown Vic idled there, engine sputtering. Rain hit the hood like soft gravel. I reached out with the bag. "Here you go." No one took it. I leaned a bit closer. "Hey, look, if you don't take this, I'm closing the window." The whisper came again. This time it wasn't faint, it was right beside my ear. "We already ate." I dropped the bag. My chest locked up. I slammed the window shut and stumbled back, knocking over the stack of Happy Meal boxes behind me. Rosa came running. "What the hell, Nate?" Someone Someone's out there. They said they already ate. Jesus Christ, you're pale. She looked out the window. The car was gone. No taillights. No sound. Nothing. She gave me a look that said she wasn't sure whether to call the cops or send me home. "Take 5, she said finally. "You're shaking." 2 a.m. We rewound the drive-thru footage on the monitor in the back. It showed the car pulling up to the speaker, then to the first window, then the second, and then it froze. No departure, no motion, just an empty frame of the window open. Rain blowing in. When Rosa tried to fast forward, the feed glitched, just static. Jerome cursed under his breath. "Man, this place haunted." "Shut up," Rosa said automatically, but her voice wavered. "Probably a recording error." I didn't argue. I just took another coffee and sat by the back door trying to breathe. The next night, Rosa called out, "Sick." I was stuck running drive-thru and front counter. A new manager named Troy came in. Younger, smug, always smelled like cologne. "Let's keep things moving, bro," he said, slapping my shoulder. "Corporate's watching." "Yeah, I know," I muttered. The rain hadn't stopped. It poured non-stop for 2 days. The lot was almost empty again. Around midnight, I saw headlights flash across the lot. That same dull gray hue. My stomach turned. I told Troy I needed to check the back freezer, but really, I just needed a minute. I stood by the rear door, staring through the narrow glass. Pain. Outside, the drainage ditch behind the restaurant was half flooded. Something, or someone, was standing knee-deep in the water. It looked like a man, but his clothes were wrong. The shirt hung heavy, soaked, clinging to skin that looked pale gray. He was facing the store. I blinked. When I looked again, he was gone. I called Rosa after my shift ended. She sounded exhausted. "Don't talk about that night again, Nate. Just don't." "What do you mean?" Her voice lowered. "I worked here 15 years. Every time it rains like this, we get one of them." "One of who?" She hung up. The third night, I should have quit. I didn't. Bills don't wait for ghosts. By 12:40 a.m., Troy had gone to smoke outside, and I was alone in front. The headset crackled again. "Hungry." I froze. "Who is this?" Static. Then, "We left something for you." A crash sounded. In the back. I ran toward the kitchen. A stack of fryer baskets had fallen. When I turned around, the back door was slightly open. Rain blew in, and muddy footprints led inside. "Troy?" I called. No answer. The footprints went across the floor around the fryers and stopped at the walk-in freezer. The door was ajar. A faint hum came from inside. I grabbed the handle and pulled. Cold air hit me in the face, and inside, lying against the racks, was a bag, a McDonald's paper bag. The top folded neatly. I didn't want to open it. I really didn't. But I did. Inside was a soaked uniform shirt, name tag still attached. It said Rosa. I stumbled backward, nearly slipping on the wet floor. I wanted to scream, but couldn't. My hands were shaking so bad I dropped the bag. Something clattered out, a bizarre handful of coins, quarters and dimes. Sticky, exact change. 10 a.m. The cops came after Troy called them, said someone broke in. I didn't mention Rosa's shirt. It was gone when they arrived anyway. They checked the cameras. No break-in, no intruder. Just static. From midnight to 3 a.m. When I got home, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing the headset crackle in my dreams. "Hungry." "We already ate." "We left something for you." Corporate shut down the store for maintenance. Everyone got temporary reassignment. I was sent to the McDonald's on Morgan Avenue. New building, new lights, same greasy smell. But every night around 1 a.m., I swear the drive-thru headset picks up the faintest whisper. Just static at first. Then breathing. Once, last Tuesday, I caught myself saying the words before I even realized it. "Welcome to McDonald's. Go ahead with your order." And through the crackle came a voice that didn't belong to anyone alive. "You still owe us a meal." I quit the next morning, but it didn't end there. Sometimes when it rains, I'll drive past that old McDonald's on Green River Road. The building's boarded up now, weeds climbing the sign, but the drive-thru menu screen still flickers faintly. Once, I stopped at the light across from it and saw a gray Crown Victoria parked by the dumpster. Headlights dim, engine off, and someone, or something, sitting behind the wheel watching. When I blinked, it was gone. But that night, when I got home, there was a bag on my porch. It was a McDonald's bag. Inside were $6.47 in change, sticky, smelling faintly of metal and rain. I never thought flipping burgers would be the thing that broke me, but that night, my last night at the McDonald's on Highway 39, proved me wrong. I started working there when I was 18, a few months after graduating high school. It wasn't a dream job or anything, but it paid decently for a kid trying to help his mom cover bills. My dad had been gone since I was 10, car accident out by the lake road. After that, it was just me and Mom. She worked at a local clinic, barely home most days. So when I landed this gig, I figured it'd help lighten her load. I got used to the smell of fryer oil and burnt buns faster than I expected. You can tell a lot about people by the way they order food, some nice, some impatient, some downright cruel. But after a while, it all just blended together into the same noise. Cash registers beeping, drive-thru headsets crackling, fries sizzling. By my 6th month, I was one of the few people who actually didn't mind closing shifts. There was something peaceful about the stillness after midnight, the hum of the coolers, the flicker of those yellow arches lighting up the empty parking lot. It almost felt lonely in a comforting way. Almost. That night was early November, cold and wet. Not raining, but that kind of mist that hangs low and clings to your skin when you step outside. The parking lot lights reflected off the damp asphalt like puddles of mercury. I was working with Rita, my shift manager, and Darnell, the line cook who'd been there longer than anyone. Rita was in her late 30s, strict but fair. Darnell was the opposite, lazy, loud, always cracking jokes to make the shift go faster. We were supposed to close at midnight. The dinner rush had died around 10:30, leaving us with 2 drive-thru orders and 1 in-person pickup. I remember Rita saying, "Let's wrap early tonight, boys. We're not getting anyone else." That was the plan, until he showed up. It was around 11:05 when the front door chimed. That caught me off guard immediately. Nobody ever came inside that late, especially on a Tuesday. I looked up from wiping the counter and saw a man standing in the doorway, letting the cold air spill in behind him. He was drenched, not just damp, soaked like he'd fallen into a lake. His jeans were sticking to his legs and his jacket looked waterlogged. But what really caught me were his eyes, pale, almost gray-blue, but cloudy, like he'd been crying salt water. Rita frowned. "Sir, the lobby's closing in 5 minutes. Drive-thru's still open if you need." He interrupted her. "I'd like a McMariner, please." I paused mid-wipe. "A what now?" "A McMariner." He said it again, slower. "That's what it's called. You know the one." Rita and I exchanged a glance. "Sir," she said carefully, "we don't have anything by that name. You might be thinking of something else." He tilted his head slightly like her words didn't compute. Then, still dripping water onto the floor, he pointed toward the illuminated menu board behind me. "There, right there." I turned and looked. It was the same menu it always was. Big Macs, McChickens, Quarter Pounders, but for a brief second something looked off. Under limited time offers, there was an item listed I hadn't seen before. McMariner sandwich. Taste the depths. Blinked. When I looked again, it was gone. Back to regular rotation. I thought maybe I was just tired. "Sir, that's not..." I started, but the man reached into his coat and pulled something out. A small glass jar. The kind you'd see homemade jam in. Inside was cloudy, yellow-gray, water, and something floating. He set it on the counter with a soft clink. "You can use this," he said quietly, "fresh from the deep." "Okay, that's it," Rita snapped, stepping forward. You need to leave. Now. The man didn't even look at her. He smiled, no teeth, just a slow curl of his lips, and whispered, "The ocean always remembers who borrowed from it." Then he turned and walked toward the restroom. "Sir," Rita called after him. "That's for employees only." He didn't stop, just kept walking, dripping that briny water across the tile. When the restroom door shut, it made a dull, hollow thunk, like it had closed against something heavy. Rita sighed and pulled out her phone. "I'm calling the cops." Darnell leaned over the counter, staring at the jar. "Yo, what even is that? Fish guts?" "Don't touch it," I said. He smirked. "Relax, man. It's probably just..." He reached out and tapped the glass. The lights flickered. The fryers hissed, though they were off. For 1 second, every digital screen in the store, the registers, the soda machine, even the order monitor, glowed blue. The color of deep ocean water. Then everything went black. The hum of the coolers stopped. The fryer oil went silent. We stood there listening to the faint drip, drip, drip of something leaking. "Breaker must have tripped," Darnell muttered, but his voice shook. Rita aimed her phone flashlight toward the counter. The jar was gone. "Darnell, please tell me you moved it." He held up both hands. "Swear to God I didn't." A loud metallic clang came from the kitchen, then another. Something shifting, dragging. "Stay here," Rita whispered, moving toward the back. I wanted to stop her, tell her not to go. But she was already gone behind the fry station. The flashlight beam flickered as she disappeared into the prep area. We waited. 10 seconds, 30, then a minute. "Rita," I called out. No answer. Just that faint dripping again. Louder now. Darnell looked like he was about to bolt. "Man, screw this, I'm out." The fryer beside him hissed to life, bubbling violently. The smell that came from it wasn't oil. It was salt water, thick and sour like decaying seaweed. Something dark and slick began rising from the bubbling vat, steaming in the dim light. It was a hand. Or something shaped like one. Long, thin. Fingers webbed together, dripping black grease. Darnell screamed. I yanked him back as the fryer splashed over, scalding liquid hitting the floor and sizzling. We stumbled toward the front counter. Behind us, something wet slapped against the tiles. Footsteps. Too heavy, too slow to be human. I turned just long enough to see it. The man, or what was left of him, standing by the fryer. His skin had turned pale gray, stretched tight like fish hide. His mouth hung open, and I swear I saw water. Pouring from it, steady like a faucet, he pointed at me. "Your debt's due." I grabbed Darnell's arm and bolted for the front door, but when I tried the handle, it wouldn't move. It felt like it had been welded shut. Outside, the parking lot lights had gone out. The only illumination came from the glowing blue menu boards. Every item replaced with one name, repeated over and over. McMariner sandwich. The man, or thing, was closer now. His footsteps left wet prints that shimmered faintly blue. The air was thick with the stench of seawater and burnt oil. Darnell yelled, "We can get out the drive-thru window." We climbed over the counter, scrambling to the back. The fryer station was empty now. The bubbling stopped, but the smell lingered. The small window above the fry rack was open, rain mist blowing in. I helped Darnell up first. He slid halfway through, then froze. "Something's pulling me." "What?" I grabbed his leg and yanked hard, but it felt like something on the other side was dragging him back. The sound that came from outside wasn't human, a low, guttural moan, like the sea grinding against rocks. Darnell screamed high and raw. His body jerked and then he was gone, ripped clean out of my grip. I fell backward, hitting the wet tile hard. I crawled toward the front counter, gasping. My heart hammered so hard I could barely see straight. When I looked up, the man stood on the other side again, closer now, his eyes bright blue, his mouth gaping open wider than before. "You can't give back what's already fed," he said. Then, the lights went out again. For a second, there was nothing, just the cold sound of dripping water. Then faintly, a whisper right by my ear. "Your order's ready." When I woke up, I was outside, lying on the wet asphalt, the golden arches flickering above me. No sign of Darnell. No Rita, no broken windows, no mess. Just the faint smell of salt and something rotting. The cops said I must have fainted during a power surge, that I'd imagined the rest, but they never explained why the floors were damp, why the fryers were filled with salt water. McDonald's shut down 2 days later. The official reason was plumbing contamination. But every few weeks, when it rains hard enough, I still get calls from unknown numbers that trace back to nowhere. When I answer, all I hear is the same low whisper, gurgling like it's coming from underwater. McMariner, one more order. I never liked working night shifts, but at 17, I didn't have much of a choice. My mom was juggling 2 jobs, and I needed to pitch in, at least a little. So when McDonald's on Lincoln Avenue offered me weekend evening hours, I took it, thinking, how bad could it be flipping burgers and sweeping floors? Turns out you can get used to the smell of grease, the hum of fryers, the low buzz of fluorescent lights that never quite stop flickering. What you don't get used to are the nights that feel like something's watching you from the corner of the kitchen, even when you're the only one there. It was late September, the kind of cold where the wind carries that faint, metallic smell of rain before it hits. I was behind the counter wiping down trays, half listening to Caleb, one of the grill guys, complain about how the new fryer timer was off by like 3 damn seconds. Maybe you're just slow, I said, smirking. He flipped me off with a spatula. Nah, it's haunted. I swear this whole place is cursed. Behind us, our manager, Mrs. Hensley, has barked, "Less talk, more cleaning," from her tiny office by the drive-thru window. She was in her late 40s with those tired eyes that told you she'd seen too many teenagers screw up shift orders and quit the next week. I didn't mind her. She paid on time and never docked hours. But that night she seemed off, kept checking the cameras. The monitor in her office faced the prep area, and every few minutes I caught her glancing at it, frowning. At around 9:45, the dinner rush had slowed. Just a few customers left, a family finishing Happy Meals and an old guy nursing a coffee. I was wiping tables when the door opened again. The sound of the chime made me glance up, expecting another late-night drive-thru reject who wanted to come inside to warm up. But this man looked different. He was tall, thin, gaunt even, wearing an oversized black hoodie with the hood drawn up. Even though the restaurant was warm, his jeans looked soaked from the knees down. At first I thought it was rain, but when I checked the window, the streets outside were dry. He stood in the doorway for a few seconds too long, like he was trying to remember how to walk. "Hey, welcome to McDonald's," I called out automatically. "We're open till 11 if you want to order." He didn't respond, just looked at the menu, his head tilted slightly like he didn't recognize the food. Caleb leaned toward me, muttering under his breath, "Guy looks like he crawled out of a sewer." "Shut up," I whispered. "He can probably hear you." The man shuffled up to the counter. His eyes were gray, not just light-colored, but almost milky, like he'd been underwater too long. "What can I get for you tonight?" I asked. He took a deep breath and said in a voice so low I barely heard it, "1 sea burger." Sorry, man. You mean filet-o-fish?" He shook his head slowly. "Sea burger." I smiled politely. "Yeah, I don't think we..." He interrupted, whispering, "They told me this is where it started." My throat went dry. Where what started? Before I could get another word out, he reached into his hoodie and placed something on the counter, a handful of wet gray sand. It smelled like salt water. I stepped back, frowning. "Sir, are you..." Mrs. Hensley appeared out of nowhere, her tone sharp. "Is there a problem here?" The man turned toward her. His lips twitched into something that looked like a smile, but his eyes stayed blank. "You're still serving it," he said. "You shouldn't have." "Okay," Mrs. Hensley said, her voice cracking slightly. "That's enough. You need to leave." He didn't move. He just pointed one long, wet finger toward the kitchen and said softly, "It's already here." Then he turned and walked toward the restroom, the men's room near the side exit, and closed the door. Caleb whistled. "Yo, what the hell was that?" Mrs. Hensley rubbed her forehead. "Just another nut job. I'll handle it." But she didn't go after him right away. She waited. 5 minutes passed, then 10. I started wiping the same tray over and over just to keep my hands busy. At 11 sharp, the remaining customers left. Caleb was mopping by the fryer. I was stacking cups near the soda machine when Mrs. Hensley finally went to check the bathroom. She pushed the door open, paused, and then slammed it shut again, stumbling back a few steps. Her face went completely white. "Call the cops," she whispered. "What? Why?" Her voice broke. "There's something wrong in there." Caleb and I exchanged looks. I grabbed my phone, but before I could dial, the overhead lights flickered. For a brief second, every screen in the restaurant, the menu displays, the registers, even the security monitor, flashed the McDonald's logo, but distorted, the golden arches bending inward like claws. Then everything went black. The hum of the fryers died. The only sound was the faint drip, drip, drip of something leaking near the restroom. Caleb's voice trembled. "Breaker tripped?" I moved toward the back to check, but the air smelled wrong, sharp and metallic, mixed with salt, like the ocean after a storm. When the lights flickered back on, Mrs. Hensley was gone. The bathroom door was open now, swinging slowly. "Mrs. Hensley?" I called out. No answer. Caleb followed me to the doorway. The tile floor was wet, not with water, but with a dark, viscous liquid that shimmered blue under the fluorescent lights. The smell made my eyes sting. Inside the stall, there was something written on the wall in what looked like ketchup at first, but thicker. It said, "I've already been served." "Dude, this is..." Caleb started, but then we both froze. Something moved behind the far stall, a dragging sound, like wet fabric on tile. "Mrs. Hensley?" I said again, my voice shaking. The stall door creaked open. What came out wasn't her. It was her uniform, the red McDonald's polo and black slacks. But inside it was something moving, shifting, like a human shape made of dripping gray sludge. The face was gone, replaced by a smooth surface that rippled when it breathed. Caleb screamed. The thing lurched toward us, and in its chest, under the wet, torn shirt, I could see the golden arches glowing faintly. We bolted. Caleb slipped on the wet floor and hit the counter hard. I ran for the exit, but the door wouldn't budge. The glass shimmered like it was underwater. "Open it," Caleb yelled. "I'm trying." Then the fryer hissed behind us, even though the power was still off. Oil bubbled violently, splattering against the wall. I turned and saw the gray thing dragging itself across the kitchen floor, its movements jerky and fast, leaving streaks of seawater behind. Caleb threw a mop bucket at it, but the thing just absorbed it, the plastic dissolving into the surface like sugar in hot tea. I grabbed his arm, yanked him toward the drive-thru window. "We can climb out." We squeezed through, landing in the wet grass behind the restaurant. The night air hit me hard, cold and real. We ran across the parking lot, not looking back until we hit the far sidewalk. When we finally turned around, the McDonald's lights flickered again. Not off, not on, just alive. The golden arches pulsed like a heartbeat. Caleb was shaking. "What the hell was that?" "I don't know," I said, panting. "But we're not going back." We called the police from across the street. They showed up 20 minutes later, 2 cruisers and an ambulance. The officers searched the building for an hour. They didn't find Mrs. Hensley. They said the Yaki restroom was dry. No puddles, no writing, nothing. They told us maybe we were tired, hallucinating from stress or cleaning chemicals. But when I went home that night and finally got the courage to wash my uniform, the smell of salt wouldn't come out. No matter how many times I rinsed it, the ocean scent lingered, faint, but there. A week later, McDonald's on Lincoln Avenue shut down for maintenance. It never reopened. The building's still there, boarded up. Sometimes when I drive by late at night, I swear I can see the menu screens flicker to life through the cracks in the boards, glowing faintly blue. And if I listen close enough, I hear a whisper under the wind, "Your order's ready." I never thought a McDonald's night shift could change the way I looked at the world. But that's exactly what happened one humid summer in 2019. At the time, I was 26, just trying to keep my life from falling apart. My name's Ryan Keller, born and raised in Terre Haute, Indiana, and back then I was working at the McDonald's off Route 41, right next to the old truck stop, and across from a marathon gas station that stayed open all night. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid enough to cover rent for my one-bedroom apartment and gas for my 09 Corolla. My ex Erin had left a few months before, and I was still stuck in that strange emotional fog where the nights drag too long and everything feels hollow. So yeah, when they offered me more night shifts, I took them. It was quiet work, at least most nights. That summer, we were short-staffed. Most kids wanted the day shifts or weekends, not the graveyard hours from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. It was usually just me, Jared on the grill, and Ms. Peters, the assistant manager, a 50-something woman who smoked too much and had a cough that made the fryers sound like background music. The first few weeks were uneventful. Drunk college kids from ISU, truckers getting black coffee, the occasional weird guy talking to himself while ordering 20 packets of ketchup. Nothing unusual. But then came August 17th, the night everything changed. It was a Saturday, or technically, early Sunday. I remember because it had rained earlier, and the asphalt outside still reflected the yellow glow of the streetlights. I was in the back mopping near the ice machine when I heard the headset crackle. "Welcome to McDonald's," I said, pulling the mic back down. "What can I get started for you tonight?" There was a pause, too long of one. Then a child's voice. "Can I get a Happy Meal?" I laughed a little under my breath. "Sure thing, kiddo. You want nuggets or a burger?" Silence. "Hey, you still there?" I asked. The reply came a few seconds later, quieter this time. "Nuggets, please." Something about the way they said it made my skin prickle. The voice wasn't chipper like you'd expect from a kid. It was flat, like they were reading the words off a paper. I turned toward the monitor. No headlights in the drive-thru lane. No car at all. "Ma'am or sir, can you pull forward to the first window?" No answer. Just faint static through the headset like wind brushing across a microphone. I took off the headset and looked toward the drive-thru. Empty. Not a single car had driven up. "Hey, Jared," I called. He peeked out from the back. "What's up? You hear a car pull in?" He shook his head. "Nah, man. Why?" "I just got an order for a Happy Meal, but there's nobody in line." He grinned. "Maybe it's Casper's kid." Ha ha. I rolled my eyes, but I couldn't shake it. I checked the order screen, and sure enough, a 6-piece nugget Happy Meal, apple juice, and a boy's toy had rung up. No one had pressed the register. I stared at the screen. "Did you punch this in?" Jared shook his head. "Nope, I was cleaning the grill." "Ms. Peters?" From the office, her smoker's voice echoed. "What?" "No one's ordered in half an hour. Why?" The weird part? The system showed it had been paid in cash. I canceled the order. I didn't even bother making it. But a few minutes later, when I turned back to grab more cups from the supply shelf, there it was, sitting on the counter by the warmer. A red and yellow Happy Meal box, folded perfectly. Fresh fries poking out from the top. The toy inside. One of those tiny plastic figures from some forgotten Disney movie. "Jared," I said slowly, "tell me you made this." He walked up, wiping his hands on a towel. The color drained from his face. "Dude, I didn't. I swear to God." We both just stood there for a moment. The fries were still hot, steaming faintly in the air-conditioned kitchen. Then the headset beeped again. "Did you get my food?" The same small voice asked. That time I didn't even answer. I pulled the headset off and slammed it on the counter. "Man, this is some bull..." Jared started, but he didn't finish. From outside came the faint sound of tires crunching gravel. We both turned toward the windows. The security lights cast a glow over the parking lot, but there were no headlights. No car, just movement. Something small and quick passing by the drive-thru window. "Did you see that?" I whispered. Jared nodded. Yeah, but what the hell was it? We told Ms. Peters, of course, but she didn't believe a word of it. She figured it was some glitch in the system. That headset's older than I am, she said, lighting another cigarette, probably picking up some CB radio chatter from the highway. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But the next night it happened again. This time the voice came in right around the same time. 2:33 a.m. Can I get another Happy Meal? Who is this? I asked. The voice paused. The same one from before. I felt my stomach. Twisted, this isn't funny, you're scaring people. Then softer. I'm still hungry. I shut off the headset, heart pounding, and walked out to the parking lot. Empty again. When I got back inside, Jared looked like he'd seen a ghost. Dude, you're not gonna like this. He pointed at the security monitor. The feed showed the drive-thru camera and a small silhouette standing where a car should have been. It wasn't tall enough to be an adult, maybe 3.5 feet, but it wasn't moving. It was just standing there facing the speaker. The following morning, I stayed after my shift and pulled the full footage. Ms. Peters was too tired to argue. I scrubbed through the timestamps from 2:20 to 2:40 a.m. There, at 2:33, the figure appeared. A small child in what looked like a striped hoodie facing the drive-thru speaker. No car lights, no movement, no footsteps. Then, suddenly, the video flickered. One frame showed the kid turning, facing the camera directly. Even though it was grainy, I swear I could see his face, pale, almost gray, eyes too big for his head. When I blinked, the next frame was blank. Static. The entire feed from 2:34 to 2:38 was corrupted. I tried showing Jared later, but when I opened the file again, it said, "Footage unavailable. Gone." On August 25th, Ms. Peters didn't show up. She'd never missed a night in 3 years. We got a call from her daughter around 5 a.m. Said her mom's car was found parked behind the Wendy's a few blocks down, engine still running, driver's door open, but no sign of her. When the cops asked us, we told them everything, the voices, the orders, the footage. They thought we were screwing with them. One of them even joked, maybe the kid just didn't like his toy. They filed her as missing. No trace ever turned up. 2 nights later, I went back to grab my last paycheck. The store felt different, quieter somehow. Even Jared had quit. I walked through the kitchen. I noticed something taped to the walk-in cooler door. A Happy Meal box, flattened and smeared with something dark, looked like old grease. On the front, written in shaky black marker, were the words, "Thank you for the food." I stared at it until my manager came out and asked what I was doing. I didn't even answer. I just grabbed my check and walked out into the night. It's been years now. I moved to Evansville, got a job at a shipping warehouse, started therapy. I tell myself what happened was stress, sleep deprivation, imagination. But sometimes, late at night, I'll hear that same faint static hum when I'm driving. Once, I swear I heard the same voice again through my car's Bluetooth speaker. "Can I get a Happy Meal?" I turned the radio off and sat in silence until my heart stopped pounding. I've never been back to that McDonald's. But just last week, while getting gas, I overheard 2 truckers talking near the counter. One said, "You hear about that McDonald's off Route 41? Night crew quit again." The other laughed. "Same thing as before?" "Yep. They keep finding Happy Meals made when nobody's clocked in." Curiosity or stupidity got the better of me. I drove back out there 2 nights ago. The place looked different. New paint, brighter lights, but the parking lot was still half empty. I parked across the street and watched. Around 2:30 a.m., the drive-thru intercom light flicked on. No cars, no people, just the light. It stayed on for exactly 4 minutes, then shut off. The next day, I went inside to order breakfast. The girl behind the counter smiled and handed me my receipt. When I looked down, my order number was printed as not 237, the same time the first Happy Meal order came in all those years ago. At the bottom of the receipt, where it normally says, "Thank you for visiting," there was a different message printed in faint gray ink. "See you tonight." I didn't sleep that night. Every creak in my apartment sounded like the headset static again. At 2:33 a.m., my phone buzzed. A notification from an unknown number. It was an audio file titled Order 237 MP3. Hands shaking, I pressed play. It was faint at first, just the soft hum of drive-thru equipment, then the child's voice. "Hi, can I get a Happy Meal?" A pause, then whispering, "You forgot my toy." My lights flickered. Outside, in the parking lot below my apartment, I saw a small figure standing next to a street lamp. The same striped hoodie, the same height. When I blinked, he was gone. I packed a bag that night. I've been staying at my cousin's place in Louisville since then, but this morning when I checked my phone, there was another notification, a McDonald's app message, one I hadn't opened in years. "Your order is ready." For pickup. The timestamp read 2:37 a.m. Now every time I drive past a McDonald's, I notice the same thing. Doesn't matter what city I'm in. Between 2:30 and 3 a.m., the drive-thru speaker light always flickers once. And if you listen close enough, you might hear a small voice whispering from the static, "Can I get a Happy Meal?" I was 19 the year it happened. Back then, I worked the overnight shift at a McDonald's on the south end of Evansville, just off Highway 41. It wasn't exactly a dream job, but it paid better than most part-time gigs, and it was open all night, which meant no shortage of weird people drifting through after midnight. My shift usually started at 10 p.m. and went until 6 in the morning. The store sat right next to a gas station that shut down after midnight, so by 1 a.m., we were the only place with lights for miles. The manager, Trent, always said that the overnight was easy money. He wasn't the one actually making Big Macs at 3 a.m. while drunk college kids screamed at the speaker. There were usually 4 of us working the night shift. Trent, the manager, Kayla on grill, Derek on fries and prep, and me up front in drive-thru. We had a rhythm, even when it was dead quiet. Music low, fryers hissing softly, that hum of fluorescent lights that never shut up. That night started like any other. It was late October, the air already cold enough to sting your fingers when you leaned out the drive-thru window. I remember that detail because the chill crept in through every drafty crack in the building. Kayla was dancing by the fryer, mouthing the words to whatever song was playing on the radio. Derek was counting nuggets, because for some reason he always counted them before dropping them in the oil. Trent sat in the office pretending to do inventory, which really meant watching YouTube videos on his phone. "Yo, Riley," Kayla called out. "You want to take the first customer tonight, or you want to hide like last week?" "I'll take it," I said, sipping cold coffee. "I ain't scared of no meth head at the speaker." She laughed. "We'll see about that." We didn't get much business after 2 in the morning, mostly truckers, drunk kids, or the occasional lost traveler. But around 3:15, the headset crackled with static. I tapped it, expecting another false alert from the speaker. Then I heard it. A faint voice. "Hello?" It was so soft I barely caught it. I said, "Hey, welcome to McDonald's. Go ahead whenever you're ready." Silence. I waited a beat, then again. "Can you hear me okay?" More static. Then a whisper. "I'm here." Something about the way the person said it didn't sound right. The syllables dragged like they were forcing the words through water. Kayla peeked around. "The corner? Someone there? I think," I said. "Maybe they're messing with the mic." Trent's voice came over the store intercom. "Riley, stop chatting and take the order. We ain't getting paid to talk to ghosts." I rolled my eyes and repeated, "Go ahead whenever you're ready." Finally, the voice said, clear this time. "Number 3 meal, no pickles. Normal enough, right?" But the tone, flat, almost robotic. No background noise. Usually you hear music or an engine, but there was nothing. I punched in the order. "All right, that'll be 8:56. Pull up to the first window." The line went dead. Through the window, I saw headlights approach, slowly, too slowly. The car looked ancient, maybe a late 80s Buick. Its paint was dull, like it hadn't seen soap in years, and both headlights flickered like old bulbs about to give out. When it rolled to a stop, I opened the first window. The driver's window was halfway down, but inside was nothing but darkness. The dash lights weren't on, and I couldn't make out a single feature. "Hey there," I said, keeping my voice friendly. 8:56. A pale hand slid out, thin, the skin almost translucent, veins dark beneath it. The fingers trembled as they dropped exact change into my palm. Cold coins. I swear they felt refrigerated. I said, "Okay, thanks." And the car crept forward to the second window. I stood there a second longer, staring after it. Something about the way it moved, it didn't glide like a normal car. It sort of jerked, like the driver kept tapping the brakes every second or two. "Yo, what's up?" Kayla asked. "They pay?" "Yeah," I said, but what? "Did you see that car pull in?" She frowned. "No, why?" "I didn't, either. Just suddenly there." She shrugged. "Maybe you spaced out." "Maybe." I took the bag from Kayla, handed it through the second window and said, "Here's your order. Have a good night." No movement. I leaned out a little. "Sir? Ma'am?" Nothing. Just the low, uneven rumble of that dying engine. "Okay," I said slowly. "If you don't..." A whisper cut me off. "You forgot the drink." I froze. The voice came from right beside my ear. But there was no one outside the window. Just empty night. I turned to Kayla, who was watching me from the fry station. "Did you just..." She shook her head. "What?" Then the intercom crackled again, though no one was at the speaker. A whisper, identical, came through both my headset and the ceiling speaker. "You forgot the drink." Kayla's face went pale. "That's not funny, Riley. It's not me." I pulled the headset off and threw it onto the counter. Trent stormed out of the office. "What's the damn problem now?" "Someone's messing with the system," I said. "They keep..." He cut me off with a sigh. "You're jumpy, man. Finish the order." When I turned back, the car was gone. No taillights, no sound, nothing. Stepped outside to check just for a second, but the lot was empty except for Derek's old Civic parked by the dumpster. Trent shouted, "Get your ass back inside. We're not insured if you get hit." I went back in, hands. Around 4, we tried to laugh it off. Kayla made another pot of coffee, Derek joked about ghost customers, and Trent went back to the office to finish paperwork. But the air felt heavy, like the whole building was breathing. Then Derek yelled from the prep area, "Yo, you guys see that?" We ran over to the monitor that showed the drive-thru cameras. The rear camera, pointing at the pickup window, was showing a car. The same Buick. Engine off. No headlights. "Did it pull up again?" Kayla whispered. I checked the window. Nothing there, but the camera showed it clear as day. Trent came out again, annoyed, until he saw the monitor. His face dropped. "Is that Liv?" he asked. I tapped the feed button. It was. We stood there staring for maybe 10 seconds before the screen flickered. The picture blurred like fog had rolled over the lens, and then it went black. The lights in the kitchen flickered. Derek muttered, "Nope. Nope. I'm out," and backed toward the door. "Don't," Trent said sharply. "We're staying inside till morning." "Morning?" Kayla snapped. "It's 4:30. I ain't sitting here with some freak in the parking lot." We argued quietly for a few minutes, the kind of whispered panic that builds pressure behind your eyes. Then from the drive-thru speaker, the voice came again, louder now, distorted but unmistakable. "Why'd you lock the door?" Trent grabbed the headset off the hook. "Listen, whoever you are, you better stop screwing around before I call the cops." Silence. Then, in that same calm whisper, "Cops already came." I swear to God, right after those words, the power flickered and everything went silent except the hum of the freezers. The dining area lights dimmed. Only the red glow of the fry warmer and the emergency exit sign stayed on. Trent started toward the office to grab the phone, but before he reached the door, there was a loud clang from the front counter, like metal slamming metal. Kayla screamed. One of the trays had fallen onto the floor by itself. Then we heard a knock. Soft, deliberate. From the drive-thru window. 3 knocks. Trent whispered. "Stay here." He crept toward the window, hand trembling as he pulled the blinds open just a crack. "Jesus Christ," he muttered. "What is it?" I asked. He didn't answer, just staggered back, face white as flour. I looked myself. There was someone standing outside. They were wearing a McDonald's uniform, but not one of ours. Older style, like from the early 2000s, faded red and yellow. The name tag said, Dale. And his face. It didn't look right. The skin looked warped, almost melted, the eyes uneven. He was smiling, but the mouth stretched too far. He raised a bag, one of ours, and mouthed the words. "You forgot the drink." Kayla screamed again. Trent slammed the blinds shut. "Everybody to the back, now!" We bolted to the storage area, locking the door behind us. We stayed there for what felt like hours, huddled between crates of frozen patties and cleaning supplies. The hum of the freezers drowned out our breathing. Every now and then we heard footsteps in the lobby. Slow, dragging. At one point, the soda machine hissed like someone pressed the lever. Then a soft laugh. Trent whispered, "I'm calling 911. He dialed, but when he put the phone to his ear, his face twisted. "It's dead." Derek pulled out his own cell, but it showed no service. Kayla was crying quietly. I tried to stay calm, but my stomach churned. At 5:57 a.m., I remember because I checked my watch. The humming stopped. Everything went silent. Then, faintly through the wall, came that voice again. "Time to open." Trent gripped the mop handle like a weapon. "When those lights come on, we run straight out the back. Don't stop." We waited. AM came. The lights flickered back on automatically. The fryers beeped, and the sounds of the morning cycle filled the kitchen again. Trent yanked the back door open, and cold dawn air hit us like freedom. We ran across the lot to the gas station next door, breathless. By the time the morning crew showed up, we were outside trying to explain what happened. They thought we were nuts until Trent unlocked the door and went inside first. "Everything's fine," he called out. "See? Nobody here." Then Kayla pointed at the drive-thru monitor. "Look." The screen showed the rear camera feed. The Buick sat there again, parked at the window. Except it wasn't moving this time. And in the driver's seat was Dale. His head turned slowly toward the camera, eyes unfocused. The timestamp read 6:03 a.m. Ran to the office to print the footage, but when he checked the DVR, the file was corrupted. Everything from 3:15 to 6:05 completely erased. Only one image remained. A still frame of the pickup window wide open, a gray hand reaching. Inside, corporate had the footage pulled for review. We never heard back. I quit 2 weeks later. Couldn't handle it anymore. Every time the intercom beeped, I jumped. But here's the part that keeps me up some nights. Last month, 3 years after I left, I stopped by that same McDonald's on my way through town. It was daylight, busy, totally normal. A new manager, new staff. I ordered a coffee through the drive-thru. When I pulled up to the window, the girl working there smiled and said, "That'll be $2.85. I handed her the cash, and then, from the headset clipped to her belt, I heard static, followed by a whisper, "You forgot the drink." The girl froze, looked at me wide-eyed and said, "What was that?" I didn't answer. I just drove away, coffee shaking in my hand, watching the rear-view mirror as the store got smaller behind me. And for half a second, I thought I saw it parked by the dumpster. A dull gray Buick, headlights flickering in the alley. I never used to think much about McDonald's. It was just a place you went when you were too tired to cook. Something normal, harmless, part of the American landscape like gas stations and billboards. But every time I see those golden arches now, my stomach knots. I can't eat there. I can't even drive past without feeling my pulse pick up, because of what happened when I was 13. It all started the summer my mom remarried. Her name's Karen Hollis, and she'd been raising me and my little sister Emily on her own since before I could remember. My dad left when I was 3, some guy from Illinois who disappeared like cigarette smoke. Mom worked at a credit union in Evansville, Indiana, full-time. juggling bills and parent-teacher meetings without ever complaining. Then came Tom Reynolds, the man she met at work. Tom was the kind of guy people liked immediately. He was funny, always cracking dad jokes, buying everyone donuts on Fridays, helping carry boxes after hours. Mom fell for him fast. I didn't blame her. She'd been lonely, always talking about how it'd be nice to have someone to lean on. After a year of dating, they got married in a small ceremony at the courthouse. Mom wore a pale blue dress, nothing fancy. Emily was 8 then, still at the age where she thought everyone was nice if they smiled. Me? I didn't like Tom from the start. Something about him made me uneasy. His smile didn't reach his eyes. And sometimes, when he thought no one was looking, his expression would drop like a mask sliding off, just blank. Cold. Still, he tried hard. Too hard. He'd call me buddy, ask about school, buy me baseball cards even though I'd told him I didn't collect anymore. But it wasn't the gifts, it was the way he'd watch me while I opened them. Like he was studying me, trying to memorize every flinch, every look. One Saturday in early June, he came out back while I was shooting hoops alone. "What's up, sport?" he said, smiling. "You got a mean jump shot." I didn't respond. "Hey," he continued, "I know things have been weird with me around, new family and all that. But how about we hang out today? Just you, me, and Em. Your mom's got to work a double, so I figured we could grab lunch and maybe hit the mall." I hesitated. He looked hopeful, almost nervous. Mom had been on me to give him a chance, and honestly, I was tired of fighting about it. So I nodded. "All right," I muttered. He grinned. "Good man." When Mom heard we were going out together, she looked genuinely relieved. "See? I told you he's trying," she said. "It'll be good for you two to bond." We left around noon. Tom had that upbeat step, whistling along to some old 80s song on the radio. Emily sat in the back seat, swinging her feet, humming. He drove us to Washington Square Mall, bought us both small toys at the GameStop there, even let Emily ride the little carousel near the food court. When we got hungry, he said, "You know what sounds good? McDonald's. You guys cool with that?" Emily's face lit up. "Yes." I shrugged. We went to the one off Green River Road. I can still picture the smell of fries and the sound of kids yelling near the play place. Tom ordered a Big Mac meal for himself, nuggets for Emily, and a quarter-pounder for me. He watched us, while we ate, smiling that same too-wide smile. "See? Not so bad hanging with me, huh?" It wasn't bad, at first. But after that day, McDonald's became his thing. Every time we went out, it was McDonald's. Birthdays? McDonald's. Friday nights? McDonald's. He'd bring it home for breakfast sometimes. Egg McMuffins and hash browns stacked on the counter like trophies. At first we joked about it. "Guess Dad's turning into Ronald McDonald." Mom laughed once. Tom's smile froze for a second. "I like the food," he said flatly. "Don't see the problem." By August, it wasn't funny anymore. He'd stop by McDonald's 2-3 times a day. We'd open the fridge and there'd be leftover burgers, cold fries, apple pies stacked like he was stockpiling. Sometimes he'd hum that stupid jingle under his breath while he ate. "I'm loving it. I'm loving it." Once I caught him staring at Emily across the dinner table while chewing, his eyes glassy. The way he looked at her, like he wasn't just eating, but consuming something invisible between them, made my stomach churn. Mom noticed too. "Tom," she said one night, "maybe ease up on the McDonald's, huh? The kids are getting tired of it." He looked up, slow, like he hadn't heard her. "What?" "Just try something different for dinner. Please?" He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Sure thing, honey. Whatever you say." But the next morning, there was a bag of sausage McMuffins on the table. Things got tense after that. Mom started cooking more at home, trying to distance us from his obsession. Tom didn't take it well. One night, she ordered Chinese. The moment the smell of lo mein hit the kitchen, Tom froze. "Why not McDonald's?" he asked, quiet at first. "Because we've eaten it every day this week," Mom said. We're done for a while." He stared at her, face twitching. "You think you're better than me?" "What?" "No, Tom, He slammed his fist on the table, making Emily flinch. "You're lying. You all hate me. That's what this is about, isn't it?" "Tom, stop," Mom said sharply. He stood, knocking over his chair. "You're not my family. You never were." Then he stormed out, tires screeching as he peeled down the street. He didn't come home for 2 days. Mom cried quietly at night. Emily kept asking where he was. I told her he'd be back, but the truth was, I hoped he wouldn't. He came back, the following Saturday evening. The second I saw his face, I knew something was wrong. His eyes were bloodshot, his hair greasy, lips cracked. He looked like he hadn't slept or like he'd been awake for something else entirely. He didn't say a word, just dropped a McDonald's bag on the table and started eating. Slowly, watching us while he chewed. Mom whispered, "Tom, are you okay?" He didn't respond, just stared at her and smiled, his teeth smeared with ketchup. We didn't eat that night. Mom told us to go to bed early. "I'll talk to him tomorrow," she said, forcing a calm voice. Emily and I shared the big bedroom next to the living room. I couldn't sleep. The sound of Tom's low humming drifted down the hall. That same stupid line, "I'm loving it. I'm loving it." Sometime past midnight, I woke up to the sound of the door creaking open. A sliver of light from the hallway stretched across the carpet. Someone was standing there. I thought it was Mom at first, but the silhouette was too tall. And the shape of the shoulders, wrong. As the figure stepped into the room, the dim lamp on Emily's nightstand revealed a red and yellow outfit, curly red wig, white face, a clown. No, it was him. Tom, dressed as Ronald McDonald. His smile was wide and painted, but underneath I could see his real mouth trembling. He walked straight to Emily's bed. "Tom?" I whispered. He didn't look at me. He crouched down, one gloved hand stroking Emily's hair. She stirred, mumbling. Then, without warning, he grabbed her shoulders and started shaking her violently. "I'm loving it," he screamed over and over. "I'm loving it," Emily screamed, kicking. I jumped out of bed, turned the light on. The sight burned into my brain, his makeup running, the red smearing into his eyes, the ketchup dripping down his chin. "Let her go," I shouted, slamming into him. He stumbled back, laughing. Mom burst in, hair messy, eyes wide. "What the hell are you doing?" Tom turned toward her, still grinning. "Just showing them how much I love McDonald's." Then he bolted, straight through the window. Glass shattered, cutting his face as he tumbled out onto the lawn. He stood up, blood pouring down his cheek, and looked at us through the broken frame. He smiled, wide, horrible. "How can you not love McDonald's?" he said, voice calm again. "Because I'm loving it." Then he ran off into the dark, laughing like a madman. Mom called 911. Cops came, took statements. They found pieces of his clown outfit in the woods near our house, but never found him. She filed for divorce immediately, and a restraining order the next morning. Emily didn't speak for almost 2 weeks. She started sleeping with the lights on, even through middle school. Mom never dated again. I think she blamed herself, like letting Tom into our lives had cursed us somehow. As for me, I haven't eaten McDonald's since, not once. I see the golden arches sometimes from the highway glowing like eyes in the dark, and I swear they flicker, like they're watching me back. It's been over a decade. I'm 25 now, living alone in Bloomington, working night shifts at a UPS hub. Life's better, but sometimes I still dream of that clown. About a month ago, I got an email from an unknown address. No subject line. Just a link and 3 words. "Still loving it." Against my better judgment, I clicked. The video opened on what looked like a McDonald's kitchen after hours. Camera shaking. Someone wearing a Ronald wig holding a tray of food. Then a male voice, low, gravelly, said, "Special delivery for Alex." I slammed the laptop shut. When I reopened it later, the video was gone. No trace. That night, I went out to grab something from the gas station down the street. As I pulled out of my driveway, I saw a car parked across the road. Headlights off. Someone inside wearing a red wig. I didn't stop. I just drove. It's funny how trauma hides in your bones until something shakes it loose. For me, it happened last week when I had to make a delivery. Guess where? A new McDonald's on the east side of town. I didn't even realize until I pulled up to the door. The smell of fries hit me and I froze. Inside, the manager, a young guy, signed for the shipment, chatting casually. But as I turned to leave, I caught sight of the old employee photo wall near the back, and there he was. Tom. No mistaking it. Standing in uniform, holding a Happy Meal box, smiling that same empty smile. Below the photo, Employee of the Month, July 2024. I felt the blood drain from my face. He doesn't work here anymore, the manager said, noticing my stare. Quit a few weeks ago, didn't even pick up his last check. You know him? I shook my head. No, just thought he looked familiar. I left fast. That night, I got another email, this time with a photo attachment. It was me, leaving that McDonald's, taken from across the parking lot. The caption read, "I'm still loving it." I told myself I'd go to the cops if it happened again, but fear has a way of making you small, whispering that maybe you imagined it, until 3 nights ago. I woke up at 2:47 a.m. to the sound of my doorbell ringing. Over and over. When I peeked through the blinds, there was no one on the porch. But something was sitting on the doormat, a McDonald's bag, grease-stained. I opened the door just enough to see what was inside. A Big Mac, fries, and a folded photo of my family, me, Mom, and Emily, from a decade ago. On the back, written in ketchup, "Let's eat together again." I dropped it and locked every door in the house. I barely slept. The next morning I called Mom. She hadn't heard from him since the divorce. Emily, now in college, said she still dreamed about that clown. Didn't tell them what I found. I didn't want to reopen their wounds. But last night as I left work, I saw a man standing across the lot under the yellow McDonald's sign. Red wig, white face, black eyes. He waved, and then, in that faint sing-song voice, drifting across the empty street, I heard him say, "I'm loving it." I'm writing this now from my apartment. Lights on, every window locked. I don't know where he's been all these years or how he found me again. But if he's out there, and I know he is, then I want him to know something. I'm not the scared kid you dressed up for anymore. You come near my family again, Tom, and I promise you won't be loving it anymore. I was 19 when I started working the night shift at the McDonald's off Riverside Drive in Evansville, Indiana. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid just enough to help me get out of my mom's place. She worked doubles at a nursing home, and I was trying to save for community college. It was me, my coworker Tessa, and our night manager, a middle-aged guy named Lonnie who wore his McDonald's visor even when he wasn't at work. We worked the closing shift together for nearly 6 months. I knew every sound that store made. The steady hum of the fryers, the hollow click when the soda machine sputtered out of syrup, the way the front doors rattled when semis passed by on Riverside after midnight. Most nights were calm. You'd get a few late-night drive-thru orders, maybe some drunk college kids stumbling through the lobby. But that night, the one I can't shake, it wasn't calm. It started real slow, then got so wrong I can still hear the sounds in my head when it rains. It was a Thursday in early March, cold and windy, and the sky looked like steel. Tessa and I came in around 5:30. Lonnie was already there, counting the drawer, talking about how corporate had been cutting hours again. The dinner rush was easy. A few families, some regulars, the guy from the auto shop, the nurse who always ordered a filet-o-fish. By 9, the place was empty except for us. "Hey," Tessa said while wiping the tables. "You ever notice how dead this place gets after 9? Like everyone just disappears?" I laughed. "That's Evansville for you. They roll up the sidewalks after dark." She smirked but didn't answer. I could tell she was distracted. She kept glancing toward the big window near the kids' play area, where the lights from the parking lot made weird reflections on the glass. Feels off tonight, she said, like before a storm. Lonnie overheard and said, "Forecast says no storms, sweetheart, just wind." But when he said it, the lights flickered once, quick enough that we all stopped for a second. Then everything went back to normal. Around 10:40, we were about to lock the doors when someone came in. He wasn't one of the regulars. He was tall, real tall, wearing a black hoodie that looked soaked, even though it hadn't rained all day. His jeans were dark with what looked like water stains, and his shoes squelched slightly when he walked. Hey there," I said, forcing a polite tone. "We're closing soon, but you can still order." The man didn't answer right away. He just stared at the glowing menu above the counter, his eyes kind of unfocused, like he was trying to read words that weren't there. Then he said softly, "You still make the old ones?" I blinked. The old ones? You mean the old menu items?" He nodded once, slow. "The ones from before you changed the meat." I laughed awkwardly. "Sir, we've had the same patties for years." He looked at me, and his eyes, God, they were gray, not like someone's natural gray eyes, but like glass fogged from the inside. He said, "No, you changed it. It used to be fresh." Lonnie came up beside me. "Sir, are you wanting to order something or—" The man interrupted, reaching into his hoodie pocket. "You can use this," he said. He placed something on the counter, a small, cloudy plastic container filled with liquid. It looked like murky water. Something was floating inside, maybe meat, maybe not. It moved when the light hit it. Tessa gasped. What is that?" The man smiled faintly. His teeth were grayish, uneven. "Fresh," he said. "From the river." Lonnie's voice hardened. "All right, sir. I'm gonna have to ask you to take that and leave. We don't take outside food or materials." The man didn't move. He just said again, "It used to be fresh," like he was talking to himself now. Then he turned around, slow, stiff, and walked out the door. The three of us stood there for a minute, trying to make sense of it. "Probably some meth head," Lonnie said finally. "River's full of them. I'll toss that out." He reached for the container, but Tessa grabbed his arm. "Don't touch it," she said. Her voice was small, shaky. "Just look." Inside the jar, whatever was floating, had shifted closer to the plastic, a pale, fleshy color with veins like tiny red threads. It twitched. Lonnie swore under his breath. "All right, screw this." He grabbed a rag, picked up the jar, and threw it in the back trash bin near the mop sink. We all tried to brush it off after that, cleaned the fryers, counted the drawer, normal closing routine, but I couldn't stop thinking about what he'd said. It used to be fresh. Around midnight, after Lonnie locked the front doors, we started mopping. That's when it hit. This smell. It wasn't grease or trash or burnt fries. It was something deeper, like rot, like river mud mixed with dead fish. Tessa gagged. "Jesus, what died in here?" Lonnie grumbled. "Probably something in the grease trap." But when he opened the trap, it was fine. The smell was coming from the back, near the mop sink. He pulled the trash bag from the bin, and immediately, something inside sloshed. The bag was wet. "Did you throw that jar out with this?" I asked. "Yeah," he said. "Why?" The bag twitched, not like it was settling. It moved. Lonnie dropped it instantly. The sound that came out of it wasn't right. It wasn't just sloshing. It was breathing. I swear to God, I heard air, pushing through water. He grabbed the broom handle and poked the bag. The sound stopped. Then, faintly from inside the bag, glug, glug, glug. Lonnie cursed and hauled it out the back door, slamming the dumpster lid shut behind him. "Done," he said when he came back in. End of story. But it wasn't. Around 12:30, Lonnie went into the office to do paperwork. Tessa was wiping tables again, humming quietly. I was restocking sauces when I heard a faint knock. 3 slow taps from the back door. I froze. We never got deliveries that late. "Tessa," I whispered. You hear that? She nodded, eyes wide. The knock came again, louder this time. Lonnie yelled from the office. If that's a customer, tell him we're closed. It's coming from the back, I said. He sighed and stomped out, keys, jangling, muttering about pranksters. He opened the door. The smell hit first, stronger this time, like the whole Ohio River had died and been left to bake. Then came the sound. Dripping. Lonnie pointed his flashlight outside. Hello? He called. The beam landed on the dumpster, or what was left of it. The lid was bent, twisted upward like something had pushed from inside. Water dripped down the metal, and there, right beside it, was the jar, sitting upright, lid off, empty. Tessa started crying quietly. We need to leave, she said. Lonnie, we need to... Something hit the back of the door, hard, a wet, meaty slap. Lonnie slammed it shut, locked it, and pushed a fryer cart against it. Nobody goes out there, he said. His face was pale as paper. We stayed together at the counter after that, all of us jumpy, silent, waiting for morning. Around 1:10, the drive-thru headset buzzed. Lonnie frowned. We shut that system off, right? Yeah, I said. No orders. After midnight. Static hissed through the speaker, then a voice, low, garbled. It used to be fresh. Tessa screamed and ripped the headset off her ear. Lonnie grabbed the unit and yanked the batteries out. The screen still glowed for a moment. Then flashed, order, 1 River Burger, paid in full. He stared at it, shaking his head. It's a glitch, he said, but even he didn't sound convinced. At 1:37 a.m., the power went out. Total blackness. Then we heard it. Water dripping. Not from the pipes, from inside the restaurant. I turned my phone flashlight on. The tiles were wet. Water was seeping from the kitchen door, dark and thick, like the river itself had crawled in. Lonnie yelled, "Shut off the main valve." We ran to the back, splashing through ankle-deep water. It reeked, salty and sour. When we got to the mop sink, the faucet was dry. The pipes weren't leaking. The water was coming from the floor drain, pushing upward. Bubbles rose and something pale surfaced for a second, like a hand, but webbed. Then it slipped back down. Tessa screamed and ran for the lobby. Lonnie tried to grab her but slipped. I helped him up, but when we looked again, the drain was empty. No water, no bubbles, no smell. It was like nothing happened, except our shoes were still soaked. By morning, everything looked normal. No water, no jar, no smell. But Lonnie didn't show up for his next shift. Corporate said he resigned suddenly. Left his keys and name tag in the office. Tessa quit that same day. I stayed, stupidly. I needed the money. 2 nights later, I was restocking when the monitor above the drive-thru flickered. An order appeared. River Burger, paid in full, no sound, no customers, just those words. And when I walked to the counter, there was a wet handprint on the glass door, too wide, too long. It dripped river water. Last month, right before I quit for good, a new manager named Cole was closing with me. I didn't tell him the story. Figured he wouldn't believe it. But at 10:58, while I was wiping tables, he froze. "You hear that?" he said, through the intercom, static. Then, clear as day, that same voice. It used to be fresh. Cole laughed nervously. "Who's screwing with us?" Before I could answer, the fryer turned on by itself. Oil bubbling, but no food inside. Cole walked toward it slowly, then stopped. He pointed to the floor. There was water pooling under the fryer, spreading fast, and mixed in with it bits of something pale, like meat. He whispered, "What the hell is that?" I said, "Don't touch it." He didn't listen. He bent down, grabbed a piece with the tongs and lifted it to the light. It wasn't meat. It was skin, human-like but thin and translucent. Cole dropped the tongs, stumbled back and said, "We're leaving." We did. Neither of us clocked out. The next morning, the fryers were spotless, no sign of anything. I moved away a month later to Terre Haute, got a job at a car wash, tried to forget about it. But sometimes, when the pressure hoses hit the concrete, I swear I hear that sound again. That bubbling, that breathing. Last week, someone sent me a photo from Evansville, the Riverside McDonald's. It's boarded up now, closed for remodeling, but on the plywood covering the glass doors, there's a stain, a dark hand-shaped stain, and written above it, in faded red marker, "It used to be fresh."